Yeah, and whether it's running or lifting or flexibility or whatever it is, we are wired to want to grow, to get better. That's a big underlying premise of the Four Fires is growth.
Mm-hmm.
And growth at its root is progress. And so when we can see and feel progress, that is an important piece of knowing that you're growing and that the work you're doing matters.
Welcome to the Four Fires Podcast, where we talk about winning in all four of the essential areas of life.
Well, welcome to the Four Fires Podcast. Today, Jeff and I have a fun topic to dig into, one that I think all of us can relate to, and that is, what do you do when you're in a physical fire slump?
Yeah.
Because something like 10 out of 10 people have found themselves in a physical fire slump.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. We go through seasons. We have an injury. We have something else happen in life that distracts us.
We have a child.
You have a child.
Something like that.
You know, the work gets crazy, and it just we have to take a season off from the gym. And how do we make ourselves get back in it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I feel like the two things that likely are to be the feeling or the emotion when you're in a slump, and it's you tell yourself, I just don't have time to work out right now, or you might just, like, I found myself was just like, yeah, I'm just not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So either one of those are probably where you are if you're in a physical fire slump. And so the thing that I wanted to say was start small. So, like, if you're in a slump and you feel like you can't break out of it, just start small. So if you're working out 0 days a week, or you're maybe getting 1 or 2 days in a week, bump it up one more day, rather than saying, okay, I got to go full back in, full in again, and I need 6 workouts a week. You're not likely to keep that long term if you've already been struggling. So I would just say start small with baby steps and say, okay, I'm going to get up 3 days a week this week, and then maybe next week, maybe stay 3 days for a week or two, and then go to 4 days, and just like build it up rather than feel like you have to totally kill yourself right off the bat.
Yeah. And sometimes I think that is the case. And then there's other times
Agreed.
where there's some of us who have worked out and we know what working out is like.
Yep.
And we just fell off the wagon.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes what we need is, I agree, sometimes small is good. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, like for me particularly, big is good.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to a client the other day, and he had a season where he had made some really, really great gains in his physical fire. And then work happened. He lost some big clients, and he felt like, oh my gosh, I've got to like dig back in. Well, he fixed the business problem, but then he was not reclaiming his time in the gym in the mornings. He just kind of stayed in this like, oh, I need to show up at 6 a.m. every morning at the office to keep working.
Or you called it DEFCON 5 mode.
He thinks he's in DEFCON 5, and and he just couldn't get out of that rhythm, partially because he was like getting in his own way. And so I was like, what good is? And he's like, I know. I was like, let's get back to good.
Mm-hmm.
Like now.
Yeah.
Like, because sometimes it's as simple as a single choice.
Yeah.
So I like 2 things that when I'm stuck that help me get unstuck. One is community. I need to have a group of people that I do something with, because sometimes I will work hard for other people when I won't work hard for myself, which is, I don't know what there's a brokenness in there.
Yeah.
But my workaround for that brokenness, like I'm a way better Christian when I'm leading a small group than I would be just on my own, because so sometimes I just need community that I know I'm working with and for.
Right.
So workout buddy, like somebody that I told, hey, you're working out on these days, I'm working out, let's send a text. So community piece. The other thing that has worked really well for me, my grandfather used to have a saying. He said, throw your hat over the fence. And what he meant by that is once you throw your hat over the fence, then you got to go get it. It forces you to get over that fence that you've been standing on the side of, looking at, thinking about whether you're going to cross it or not.
Yeah.
And so a challenge. So there are times in my world where I will have to say, I'm going to do a half Ironman.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell some people that I'm going to do a half Ironman.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, crap. I told some people.
Now I have
to go do it. I threw my hat over the fence, and now I've got to go do it. The Army Combat Fitness Test is a good way to just say, I'm going to go do that thing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to embarrass myself in front of my friends.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go work hard.
Yeah.
And it just creates the habit and the movement. It gives you some purpose. So,
yeah, I would second that on the get a workout partner or just have some sort of an accountability partner. Maybe you and this person don't go to the same gym or can't go to the same gym, but you're always asking each other, you know, how's it going, man? How have you benched 275 yet? Like whatever the goal was. And then also setting a goal for yourself. That's something that helps me. And I hate motivation because motivation is emotional and it goes up and down. But setting a goal for myself can help me just kind of give myself the kick in the butt. Like, yeah, that's right. I have this goal. I want to make sure I'm still working. Rather than you can get really stagnant and just going to the gym all the time, doing the same exercises with the same weight, and you don't feel like you're actually working towards anything. So setting a goal can be a good way to get yourself out of a slump.
Yeah.
Like, I want to increase my bench press by 10 pounds. It can be like the most simple thing. But a little goal like that can give you a little fire under your butt to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, and whether it's running or lifting or flexibility or whatever it is, we are wired to want to grow, to get better. That's a big underlying premise of the Four Fires is growth. And growth at its root is progress. And so when we can see and feel progress, that is an important piece of knowing that you're growing and that the work you're doing matters. And certainly in our physical fire and our professional fire, these are the two easiest areas to see tangibly that growth.
And maybe the slump that you're in might not be your exercise, but it might be your eating habits are in a slump, and you're just not eating the way you know you're supposed to. And so one little point that I was going to make that I've seen in my own life is don't go grocery shopping on an empty stomach, because at least if I'm speaking for myself, I'm much more prone to buy cookies and other unhealthy things that I just know I shouldn't have in my house, because if they're there, I'm going to eat them. Just a little tidbit there on like a little tip on how to get out of a slump in your eating is make sure you're buying healthy groceries.
You know, we've said this before, you can't out exercise poor eating, right? So getting that portion of your physical fire under control is a really essential piece to winning in that space. And I like how the fires are connected, because I think that the spiritual discipline of fasting, it has created a mentality shift for me. And what I mean by that is, in Matthew 5, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says, when you pray and when you give to the needy and when you fast. And he just lumps like fasting in there with all of these other things that are general expectations, commitments of what we're supposed to be doing while we're on this planet. And I've been thinking about, like, why do we fast? Does God care about my caloric intake? Or does he care about my mental state and the recognition that I am not mastered by my money? I am not mastered by my body. And when I have questions about how to handle life, I go to my Heavenly Father, right? Like that these are practices that we put in place when you pray, when you give, when you fast, that help keep us healthy. But one of the things I noticed in my physical fire that shifted a lot is once I started the spiritual practice of fasting, I just knew that food didn't own me anymore.
Yeah.
Like I used to drive 45 minutes from a client site and get this little twinge of hunger and pull over on the side of the road and get a king size bag of Skittles. Like, I mean, I'm going to go like, oh, I must have this.
Yeah.
And then after you do a 2-day fast, all of a sudden you get to like walk with your shoulders back a little bit further and your chest out, and you're like, food does not own me.
Mm-hmm.
Food serves me.
Right.
I do not serve food.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you're in that space of feeling like you're kind of stuck in terms of the eat portion of your physical fire, I would say, yeah, be careful about the stuff you bring into the house, but take a season, whatever your fast, and if you're a 24-hour faster,
this is good,
48-hour faster, just like drastic action to say, look, I am not owned by food.
Mm-hmm.
It's like putting your flag in the sand and saying, yeah, I would recommend, if you've not, that'll help you in your spiritual, in your purpose fire.
Yep.
But I think it has carryover effects over in your physical fire as well.
Knowing that you can do a hard thing, and then just knowing that you have self-control and that you're not mastered by anything is, I think, maybe one of the first steps to getting out of a slump, because what gets us into a slump oftentimes, I would argue, is the victimization, living in victimization. Sure. So when you can do a fast and say, I know, like I'm sitting here and I get hungry and I want to go eat a bag of Doritos or whatever it is. Yep. I know that I can tell myself, I literally cannot eat again for the next 2 days and I would be fine. Yeah. And biologically, I could go for weeks, actually, probably before I die.
Yeah.
But anyway, just the self-control and the mastering our body. Yesterday, or Monday morning, I said in our meeting about we're a spiritual being having a physical experience, not the opposite. Yeah. And the enemy, Satan, wants us to believe that, no, you have to have it. Like, he wants us to be in bondage and be controlled by our bodies. And
that's another piece of your identity is, I am not my body.
Nope.
This body is just a vehicle I walk around in, and it serves me.
Yeah.
But my identity is not in my body.
Mm-hmm.
As we think about how do we get out of a physical slump?
Mm-hmm.
One is start moving.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
whether it's drastic or one baby step.
That's right.
You have to make movement.
That's right. Yeah. Motion is lotion, right? So it is like, let's get moving.
Mm-hmm.
And getting moving oftentimes is easier when you have community and when you have a challenge, something that scares you, like something that's going to make you go, oh, if I don't do this, I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
The irony is you were failing slowly anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So community and challenge. And then on the eat side, man, the fasting is such a cool tool to help us overcome so many other areas of our life. But most importantly, I think it helps us to have that recognition that my body doesn't own me. My body doesn't control me.
Yeah. And if you want that community, click the link in the description and join the Four Fires Tribe today and start your own fire circle, which is just a group of guys that get together every month to talk about the Four Fires. And that's where you can build that authentic friendships. And with that comes accountability.
Mm-hmm. And if you need a challenge, we'll run Army Combat Fitness tests. Go sign up for a Everest climb. Go sign up for a half Ironman or a half marathon or a 5K or a 10K. Whatever it is that scares you.
Yeah.
If you're in a slump, like, go sign up for something like that is going to force you to get out there and be at that next level. So hopefully that's a helpful tip. Most of us have lived through a physical fire slump at some point. We got to get back on the horse and stay intentional. And we'll talk to you next time on the Four Fires Podcast.